Americans United Political Action Committee, U.S. Tamil Action Group, and Pearl. My name is Amaran. I'm a student at UNC Chapel Hill, and I'm serving on the board of directors for Tamil Americans United. Our mission is to get justice for the victims and survivors of genocide in the Tamil homeland through an international investigation mechanism, such as the International Criminal Court. We urge the US to support a permanent political solution for Tamil people in the north and east of Sri Lanka through an internationally monitored independence referendum based on the Ilam Tamil's right to self-determination. We will commence this Remembrance Day with the lighting of the lamp to honor the victims and survivors of the Sri Lankan armed conflict. Please light your lamps at this time. As we light this traditional oil lamp, pay our respect to those who perished their lives with hope that one day our land will be freed and our people will live with dignity. Now we'll observe a moment of silence to honor all the victims. Thank you all. Let's move on to this evening's agenda. We will have remarks from a few US leaders who champion human rights, along with a few prominent Tamil human rights activists and political and civil society leaders who will be covering various issues that are important to the Tamil community. We have a very tight schedule, so I kindly ask that all speakers to please stay within the allotted time. If you go over time, I'll give you a gentle reminder to wrap things up. Our first speaker, Meena Ilancheleyan, will be giving the opening remarks. Meena is a longtime Tamil rights advocate and is the president of Tamil Americans United PAC. She's a strong woman leader with great principles, setting an example for all of us to learn from. Meena, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Amaran. Vanakkam. Good morning and good evening, distinguished leaders and activists. We are here to commemorate the Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day. Today marks the solemn remembrance of the end of the ethnic war 14 years ago. Up to 170,000 Tamil civilians have been massacred by the Sri Lankan government during the final months of the war alone. No one has been punished for these crimes, and the international community, including the United Nations, have collectively failed to provide justice and a mechanism to ensure non-recurrence. But in recent years, with the help of our US and global leaders, we are turning the rock. Last year, Canadian Parliament acknowledged Tamil genocide and recognized May 18th each year as Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day. The US government has imposed several travel bans on Sri Lankan military personnel who have been responsible for gross human rights violation. Thank you, Congresswoman Ross, Congressman Nicol, Congressman Jackson, for all the initiatives taken towards justice and accountability in the US Congress. While the Sri Lankan government is under international pressure, back in the traditional Tamil homeland, the situation of the Tamils are deteriorating at an alarming rate. The same military that engaged in the genocide are involved in land grabs and building Sinhalese Buddhist temples in Tamil's land. Their intent is to transform the entire island into a Sinhalese Buddhist fundamentalist country. The government continues to destroy Tamil culture and our language. More than 25 Tamil war cemeteries and memorials with more than 20,000 graves of Tamil men and women who had fought for their independence have been bulldozed and destroyed by the Sinhalese military. They have turned these lands into their military camps and playgrounds. Thousands of families are unable to mourn the death of their loved ones. The military has built memorials for the Sinhalese military officers in the Tamil land and protecting it. It is similar to the Nazi Germany. During the Holocaust, the Nazi regime destroyed numerous Jewish cemeteries and used the headstones for construction projects. Today, the Tamils are without justice and without any guarantee that the government will not massacre them again. The Elam Tamils as a nation had our own kingdom and sovereignty in the island until the Portuguese invasion in the 16th century. When the island got independence in 1948, the power was given to the majority Sinhalese, resulting in an incomplete and improper decolonization. As per the international laws, the Tamils have their right to self-determination and must be allowed to exercise it. As the world leader, US must help the Tamils to do the right legal thing and help conduct an independence referendum. We, the Tamil Americans, call on the congressional leaders to help us with 4 major urgent requests. Support and recognize the Elam Tamils' right to self-determination. Help conduct an independence referendum for Elam Tamils to determine their political status democratically and peacefully. Urge the US administration to pursue a referral of Sri Lanka to the International Criminal Court. Formally recognize the genocide of Tamils carried out by Sri Lanka. Tamils need an urgent protection mechanism from the occupying forces and a permanent political solution for our long-standing national problem. A nation cannot live at the mercy of another. Nandri. Thank you.
Thank you, Meena, for covering some of the big wins in the fight for justice for genocide across the world, as well as the current situation in Sri Lanka. Today is a very important day for Tamil Americans. In the United States Congress, a landmark House resolution was introduced calling for justice and accountability for Tamils in Sri Lanka. It talks about freedom of expression and the current Sri Lankan president's continued onslaught on Tamils, including everything from land grabbing to the destruction of Tamil Hindu worship places. Most importantly, it encourages a referendum process to find a permanent political solution. We have Congress members here with us today, and we'll have them speak more on this. Our sincere thanks to US Congress reps for introducing the resolution. Most importantly, we, Tamil Americans, need to call on our congressional representative and get enough support to make sure we can pass this resolution on the floor. This should be our service to all the genocide victims and survivors on this important day. Our next speaker is an individual well known to many Tamils. Congressman Deborah Ross led many initiatives, including the landmark House resolution today, which she will share with us tonight. As she promises us at every year's Genocide Day, she has always been a powerful voice in the US Congress for Tamil Americans. Thank you for all that you have done for Tamils. Here's Congresswoman Ross.
Well, thank you so much. And on this Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day, I'm honored to join Tamil people across the world to mourn and to commemorate the lives lost 14 years ago. 14 years after Sri Lanka's ethnic war, the country stands at a crossroads, a dangerous crossroads. Despite the war's end, there's been a clear lack of political will in Sri Lanka to seek accountability for the atrocities committed against the Tamil community, and that is unacceptable. The Tamil people deserve justice and the ability to live with peace and dignity in their homeland, though we like having you in the United States as well. Accountability for past and ongoing human rights violations is necessary for Sri Lanka to move past its current struggles and ensure a sustainable future for all people on the island. The international community, with the United States as a leader, has a key role to play in advancing accountability and redress for the Tamil people. This is why I am so proud to be a leader on issues regarding Sri Lanka and to stand with the Tamil community. And I need to point out that Congressman Nicol introduced me to the Tamil community. This week, I reintroduced an updated version of the landmark resolution I led in 2021 with Congressman Johnson, who is now in the majority, so he's the guy with the power. and it honors those killed in the conflict and expresses support for Tamil demands for justice and accountability. The resolution urges Sri Lanka to honor its unfulfilled commitments to the UN Human Rights Council and asks the US to use its position on the council to refer Sri Lanka to the International Criminal Court, as Meena has talked about. I'm grateful to the Tamil American community, not only for your friendship, but for your contribution to the communities here in the United States and your relentless advocacy for your families and friends on the island. To the global Tamil community here today, as we remember this horrific tragedy, the victims and their families, know that I care and I will fight for you. I remember with you and I mourn with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congresswoman Ross, for sharing your kind words today and for reintroducing the bill. Congressman Jeff Jackson is known for doing the right thing for all Americans, regardless of political affiliations. He's also definitely standing by his words for Tamil Americans as a strong voice and supporter. I actually had the privilege of interning for him on his finance team a few summers back. Congressman Jackson, we are thankful for your voice and ask you to share a few words.
It's good to see you again. Thanks for all the help that you gave to my past campaign. I really appreciate that. I see a lot of people here that I've gotten to know through this cause. Meena, good to see you again. And of course, I agree with everything that we just heard from Congresswoman Ross, who has been, along with Wiley, the two main leaders. So look, I'm new to Congress, right? I've been there about 4 months. And the two leaders on this issue are in this Zoom room with us right now for all of Congress. And it's a credit to them, but really it's a credit to y'all and your community and making sure that your local members of Congress knew about this issue and cared about this issue and shared your passion. And lo and behold, the system kind of worked the way that it's supposed to, the way that it doesn't always work, but they heard you. They've introduced a resolution that now has bipartisan support in a day when very few things have bipartisan support, like obvious things that should still don't, but this does. And that is fantastic because you have made an amazing amount of progress in going from your local members of Congress not having this be on their radar, to having it be a priority for them, to having it be a bipartisan introduced piece of legislation. Y'all, I think I understand that it feels like justice is long overdue, and it is. But on any realistic sense of the pace of politics in the United States, we're moving pretty fast down the track here. And it's because you all have done a great job in being such expert advocates and in having such a really strong community. It's really remarkable. You get an opportunity as a member of Congress to work with and hear from lots of different types of communities that have different issues. The Tamil community has just been fantastically effective at how it's chosen to do its advocacy around this. And I think that's why you're seeing results much more quickly than, frankly, I would have predicted 2 or 3 years ago. So look, Congresswoman Ross, Congressman Nickel, they are the champions for this. It's my job to support them. I do have Tamil Americans in my district. I've heard from them on this issue. I'm with them on the resolution, but I have to give credit where it's due. These are the two real champions for the whole country right now, and we're going to get this thing done. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Congressman Jackson, for sharing your words today and emphasizing the importance of bipartisanship in this issue. Next, we want to call up a longtime beloved friend of Tamil Americans, Congressman Wiley Nickel. He is a human rights champion and the first US elected official to publicly recognize Tamil genocide. We really appreciate Congressman Nickel for being a friend, supporter, and guide for Tamil Americans. He has some very important remarks to share with us today. Congressman Nickel, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and Vanakkam. On this day of deep sadness, I'm honored to join the Tamil people in remembrance, mourning, and in solidarity. Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day is an important occasion that holds great significance for the Tamil people around the world and for all those who advocate for peace, justice, and human rights. 14 years ago, the Tamil people were victims of genocide as the Sri Lankan government deliberately targeted Tamil civilian populations, resulting in the death of tens of thousands of people in the war's final months. I'm proud to be the first elected official in the United States to publicly acknowledge the Tamil genocide, and I'm proud to be an original co-sponsor of Congresswoman Deborah's resolution that was introduced today. We must acknowledge the pain and suffering endured by the Tamil people and ensure that the voices of survivors are heard to foster healing and reconciliation. I commend the Tamil Americans working tirelessly to promote awareness of the Tamil genocide and champion a permanent political solution for the people and their people. Their dedication and commitment to justice and peace are commendable. As we observe Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day, let's remember the lives lost, the families torn apart, and the enduring resilience of the Tamil people. May this day remind us of our responsibility to stand against injustice and work towards a world where everyone can live in peace, equality, freedom, and dignity. The Tamil people deserve a future where they can live in peace, a future where their rights are respected, and a future where their voices are meaningfully heard through a democratic process. On this Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day, we mourn and we remember, and I reaffirm my commitment to stand with you as we continue to fight for justice. Thank you so much. It is truly an honor to share today with you. As I just finish here, I want to say that I've had so many conversations with people who have been affected by Tamil genocide and have lost loved ones. And what's amazing about American democracy is one conversation can make so much change. And for me, if I can just think back to one conversation with Indy, who does so much work, Indy Subramanian, and never wants to be seen or take the credit. His conversation with me on a playground for our children is what started my interest, my involvement. And now I'm in the United States Congress working with amazing public servants like Deborah and Jeff Jackson and Congressman Bill Johnson to continue to advocate for peace and justice. And the change doesn't happen in the halls of Congress. It happens when people make their voices heard. And by doing that today, we're truly making a difference. Thank you so much for having me here with you today.
Thank you, Congressman Nicol, for co-sponsoring this bill introduced today and for your longtime support of Tamil Americans. Congresswoman Summer Lee is a great supporter and strong voice for the Tamil American community in the Pittsburgh area. We are glad that she was able to send a video of support. Thank you, Congresswoman. You can play the video now.
On this solemn day, I am humbled and honored to share in this space with the Tamil people across the globe in remembrance and in mourning. Today is not only a day of remembrance, but a call to action. A call to action for solidarity with the Tamil people and the victim survivor community in their ongoing fight for justice and accountability. 14 years ago, the Tamil people were victims of a genocide, as the Sri Lankan government deliberately targeted Tamil civilian populations, resulting in the death of over 140,000 people in the final months of the war. The Tamil people continue to be subject to intimidation, militarization, and land grabs at the hands of the Sri Lankan government, and their calls for justice and accountability continue to be met with domestic impunity. We know that justice delayed is justice denied. That's why I am proud to be an original co-sponsor of the resolution introduced today and to call for recognition of the genocide committed against the Tamil people. I remain committed to standing with the Tamil people in their continued fight for justice. It is critical for the United States and the international community to lead with our values. Human rights are human rights everywhere. All people deserve a future where they may live in peace and dignity. Today, we mourn the lives that were lost. We honor their memory. We grieve for the community. May we move forward from today renewed in our undertaking together to support the Tamil people in their desire for justice and peace.
Thank you, Congresswoman Lee, for co-sponsoring the bill today and for your thoughtful words. Kasipillai Jayavanitha is the leader of the Association of Disappeared Tamils. The Association of Disappeared Tamils conducts rotational hunger strikes nonstop for the 2,279th day in Vavuniya. We are grateful for their courage, sacrifices, and commitment to getting justice and accountability for their children. She couldn't be here with us today, so she sent a video, which we will play now.
இந்த தமிழ் இனப்படுகொலை நினைவு நாளில் தமிழர் தாய காணாமலாக்கப்பட்டோரின் சங்க சார்பாக கலந்துரையாடுவதில் நாம் மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகின்றோம். இந்த தமிழ் இனப்படுகொலை நினைவு நாளில் தமிழர் தாய காணாமலாக்கப்பட்டோரின் சங்க சார்பாக கலந்துரையாடுவதில் நாம் மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகின்றோம். என் பெயர் காசிப்பிள்ளை ஜெயவனிதா. 2009ஆம் ஆண்டு ஏப்ரல் மாதம் இனப்போர் முடிவடைவதற்கு ஒரு மாதத்திற்கு முன்னர் எனது மகள் இரட்டை வாய்க்காலிலிருந்து புதுமாத்தளன் நோக்கி செல்லும் போது இலங்கை இராணுவத்தால் கடத்தி செல்லப்பட்டாள். இந்த சாவடியில் கடந்த 2279 நாட்களாக காணாமலாக்கப்பட்ட தமிழ் குழந்தைகளின் தாய்மார்களாகிய நாங்கள் தொடர்ந்து போராடி வருகின்றோம். ஸ்ரீலங்கா இராணுவத்தினரால் கடத்தப்பட்டு காணாமல் ஆக்கப்பட்ட எமது பிள்ளைகளை கண்டறிய அமெரிக்காவும் ஐரோப்பிய ஒன்றியமும் உதவும் வரை இந்த போராட்டத்தை இந்த சாவடியில் இருந்து தொடர்வோம். பெரும்பாலான கடத்தி செல்லப்பட்ட குழந்தைகள் உயிருடன் இருப்பதையும் நம்மிடமிருந்து மறைக்கப்பட்டதையும் நாங்கள் அறிவோம். நமது அரசியல் எதிர்காலத்தை தீர்மானிக்க பொது வாக்கெடுப்புகள் தேவை. காணாமல் ஆக்கப்பட்ட எமது பிள்ளைகளை ஒரு இறையாண்மை உள்ள தமிழ் தேசத்தில் மட்டுமே கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியும். தமிழர்கள் இந்த தீவின் பூர்வீக குடிமக்கள். ஐரோப்பிய படையெடுப்புக்கு முன் தமிழர்கள் நாங்கள் சொந்த ராஜ்யத்தை தங்கள் சொந்த இறையாண்மையும் கொண்டிருந்தனர். எனவே தமிழர்களுக்கு அவர்களின் சுய நிர்ணய உரிமைக்கு உரித்துள்ளவர்கள். இலங்கையில் உள்ள தமிழ் மக்கள் மற்றும் புலம்பெயர்ந்த தமிழர்களிடையே பொது வாக்கெடுப்பு நடாத்தப்பட வேண்டும் என்று தமிழக முன்னாள் முதல்வர் வலியுறுத்தினார். யுத்தத்தின் போது எமது பிள்ளைகளை எம்மிடமிருந்து பறித்த இராணுவத்தினரையும் அவர்கள் செய்த சர்வதேச குற்றங்களையும் தண்டிக்க சர்வதேச நீதிமன்றத்தை நியமிக்குமாறு ஐநாவிடம் முதலமைச்சர் ஜெயலலிதா மேலும் கோரிக்கை விடுத்திருந்தார். வாக்கெடுப்பு மட்டுமே நமது குழந்தைகளை கண்டறிய எதிர்கால கடத்தலை நிறுத்தவும் பாதுகாப்பான இறையாண்மை தேசத்தை அடைய உதவவும் இந்த காரணங்களுக்காக பொது வாக்கெடுப்பு நடத்த அமெரிக்கா உதவ வேண்டும் என்று நாங்கள் மரியாதையுடன் கேட்டுக்கொள்கின்றோம். நன்றி.
Now I'd like to call upon Meena to provide a translation.
Thank you, Amaran. Let me start the translation. My name is Jayavanitha Kasipillai. In April 2009, a month before the end of the ethnic war, my daughter was abducted by the Sri Lankan army from Pudumathalan. We, the mothers of Tamil children who have been missing, have been fighting continuously in this booth for the past 2,279 days. We will continue this struggle at this booth until the United States and the European Union help us find our missing children abducted by the Sri Lankan military. We know that most abducted children are alive and hidden from us. We need referendums to decide our political future. Only a sovereign Tamil nation can find our missing children. Tamils are the native inhabitants of this island. Tamils had their own kingdom and their own sovereignty before the European invasion. So Tamils are entitled to their right of self-determination. The former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu insisted that a referendum should be held between the Tamils in Sri Lanka and the diaspora Tamils. Chief Minister Dr. Jayalalitha had further requested the UN to refer to the International Court to punish the soldiers who took our children from us during the war and for the international crimes they committed. Only a referendum will help us find our children, stop future abduction, and achieve a safe and sovereign nation. For these reasons, we respectfully request that the United States help us to hold a referendum. Thank you.
Thank you, Meena, for the translation. Thavththiru Velan Swamigal is a part of the Tamil civil society in Tamil and is a spiritual seeker, teacher, and leader. He organized many Tamil rallies in the Tamil homeland. Recently, the Sri Lankan government arrested and jailed him for his courageous activism. Swami, the entire Tamil world stands with you, and your voice is crucial for our people. Here is Velan Swamigal.
Vanakkam. Good evening and good morning to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Tamil Americans United, US TAC and Pearl to organize such a nice program on this Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day. And also I would like to extend my thanks to the House representatives who are here to listen to us, and for a long time, they have been traveling with us with our problems. Thank you very much. Here in Sri Lanka, yesterday I was at Mullawaikal, meeting a lot of people directly. And the sufferings and the pain of the people is still very strong. And last 14 years, we have not been achieved any justice for our Tamil genocide and other war crimes and crimes against humanity, etc. That pain is so strongful, and also nowadays you are aware here we go through so many challenges in the sense the Tamil traditional worship places, the Hindu temples, have been attacked, destroyed, and demolished. And if we ask for the justice, then we have been arrested, put into the jail, and the Sri Lankan courts, whatever orders or justice they have given, the Sri Lankan military and the security forces, archaeology department, other departments, they don't listen or they don't respect those justices. So at this particular point of time, we don't know what to do. So having said all this, even recently I already mentioned that I have been also arrested and still the court case is going on. So at this particular point of time, we actually request the international community, especially the US, immediately we expect the demilitarization in Northeast, the traditional Tamil homeland. We are very much afraid of the Sri Lankan military or the security forces because of their presence in the Northeast. All these things are happening. So this has to be done very immediately, very urgently, and we feel with the international pressure, only this can be done or achieved. And when our political permanent solution is concerned, as we are very much into the referendum, and we expect the international community, US and other organizations or countries together should take lead to have a referendum in northern eastern part of Sri Lanka, and let us decide our political destiny. And we welcome the resolution by our House representatives Rosen Johnson, and we also welcome our Tamil Americans United efforts at the same time on the behalf of Elam Tamils who are living in Elam right now. So this referendum is the only way we are expecting from the international community to conduct and monitor the referendum in northern eastern part of Sri Lanka so that we can have the permanent political solution. And secondly, our demand or expectation is refer Sri Lanka to the ICC, International Criminal Court, and taking this accountability and reconciliation justice matter out of UNHRC and proceed to the UN Security Council. And the Sri Lanka should be referred to ICC, and all the genociders, war criminals should be punished so that this reoccurrence will not happen, because people are so much of afraid, and actually we are going through the very strong psychological trauma. So we request the international community, especially US, to refer Sri Lanka to the ICC. So these are the two main demands as far as our permanent solution is concerned. And once upon, I would like to thank everybody. And again, we need as civil activists or humanitarian workers some sort of security for us to express our views, and freedom of speech is completely banned, and the 6th Amendment is there. And so we expect that sort of security from you all. And thanks to the House Representative Deborah Ross, and when I was arrested, she was again released a statement, and we expect such sort of things in the future as well, so that we can work here peacefully. And once again, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Thavththiru Velan Swamigal, for your activism and conveying the main asks of the civilians who are currently living in Tamil and sharing the mental trauma that people are facing. Next, Justice C.V. Wigneswaran. He is the leader of the Tamil People's Alliance and a member of the Sri Lankan Parliament. He was the first Chief Minister of the Tamil majority Northern Province and is a retired Supreme Court judge. Justice Wigneswaran, the floor is yours. I think you need to unmute. நீங்க கொஞ்சம் unmute பண்றீங்களா?
Alan, unmute பண்ணணும்.
I think you should be hearing me now.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody. We meet again via Zoom on this important day, carrying the pain of the brutal genocide that was executed on our people 14 years ago. 8 years have passed since the Northern Provincial Council carried through unanimously on the 10th of February 2015 a resolution on genocide committed on our people, and we appeal to the world community to take notice of it and venture to take appropriate steps to inquire into the hideous acts perpetrated against our people. One of the reasons I believe the world community was hesitant to pursue adequately in the direction of inquiry was that some of our Tamil politicians refused to accept at that time, when we passed the said resolution under my stewardship as Chief Minister of Northern Province, that the haphazard use of rockets, indiscriminate aerial bombings, attacking of civilians who entered no-fire zones after they were coaxed to enter such zones, attacks on hospitals, killing those who surrendered waving white flags as instructed by the army, and the wanton killing of thousands of our people brutally amounted to acts of genocide. We are yet to obtain justice for the Mullawaikal genocide. Consequently, a reasonable settlement for our political and economic ills have eluded us so far. Whatever steps we intend taking on the ground for the amelioration of the day-to-day conditions of our people, justice for the genocide committed in Mullawaikal is absolutely essential, and equally important is a mechanism to a permanent political solution that addresses the root cause of the war, which meets the aspirations of the Tamil people, is also equally important. Our people, as you know, voted in at the last general election in 2020 to Parliament, those who hailed from parties in the South, who promised benefits such as housing, employment, and other temporal needs. How far the elected representatives from the southern parties have been able to fulfill their promises so far is irrelevant. But the mood of the electorate must be gauged. They want their basic needs and necessities to be met. 14 years after the end of the war, they have progressed very little. Even the restricted though essential good work we did to our people while we were in power in the Northern Provincial Council as far as the North goes, have now been denied to them with elections to the Provincial Council not being held from 2018. There are none to prevent the centre and its government departments from indulging in land grabs, expropriation of resources, and aiding and abetting hegemonic Sinhala Buddhist activities. Local government elections and provincial council elections have so far not been held. Available devolved powers under the existing laws have not been utilized for the benefit of our people. The centre has arrogated to itself the powers of the periphery in the absence of the local authorities and the provincial council, and land grabbing through government departments are taking place in a big way. Contiguity of Tamil-speaking areas are being disturbed, and their integrity is being disturbed by Sinhala settlements being placed in between the north and the east. We are aware that central government departments, such as the Forest Department, Mahavali Authority, Wildlife Department, and others, have obtained a massive foothold in the northern and eastern provinces. We have therefore suggested to the President that immediate steps be taken so that when provincial council elections are held next, the law would be made to be in consonance with the 13th Amendment originally suggested by India. We have made it clear, however, to the government and India that the 13th Amendment is not the solution to our political problems. As Indian Foreign Minister Honorable Dr. Jaishankar posed the question, could you expect a full-fledged solution to your political problems from a government not prepared to implement the 13th Amendment? The last meeting held with the President, we ensured that the map of 1985 setting out the forest lands be taken as the correct depiction of the forest lands today. That means the lands grabbed by the Forest Department over and above the lands depicted in the map of 1985 should be returned to the owners, occupiers at the time of such takeover. I placed an exhaustive document recently to revitalize the Provincial Council. Today, our people lack all powers. The Tamil-speaking people of the north and east are completely under the hegemony of the Sinhalese politicians, officials, or others such as the Buddhist priests. The occupational military continues to occupy acres and acres of land within our traditional homelands, our estimate being 3,000 acres of private land and 60,000 acres of state lands. Our political prisoners are still continue to be in incarceration. Our archaeological and cultural symbols are continuing to be destroyed, as stated by Venerable Velan Swamigal. Acres and acres of our traditional homelands are being expropriated. Our resources are being plundered. The land extent of our traditional homelands is dwindling. They are being occupied by our outsiders. It is our desire that while we work hard, hand in hand with the diaspora internationally, to get justice for our lost ones and their bereaved families, and proceed to bring the wrongdoers before the ICC or any other international fora, we need to keep our attention concentrated also on the happenings on ground in the northern and eastern provinces. This is very essential. May I therefore respectfully suggest to this August Assembly of distinguished ladies and gentlemen that while our deliberations towards our future takes place robustly, a keen interest towards the ground situation of the land of the Tamils is also shown. Let us all take our decision today on this Mullivaikal Commemoration Day to move forward towards our Tamil nation's self-government, self-reliance, and self-sufficiency. I thank every one of you for your patient hearing. Nandri, Vanakkam.
Thank you, Justice Wigneswaran, for your insight into the current affairs on the island. Next, we have Bishop Christian Noel Emmanuel, who is a Catholic bishop of Trincomalee. As a bishop from the eastern part of Sri Lanka, he is accompanying not only the Tamils of the eastern province, but also plays an important role nationally as a Tamil spiritual leader. He is also a leader of the Tamil Civil Society Forum. Here is Bishop Emmanuel.
Vanakkam, everyone. Honorable Congresswoman Deborah Ross, Congressman Nickel and Jackson, religious leaders, and my dear friends. Today we remember the Mullawaikal Tamil Genocide Day. 14 years ago, this took place, but still people even today long for justice. Thank you very much for all the support you give as Congresswoman and Congressman towards our Tamil cause. You have been observing all activities and breach of law and order situation in Sri Lanka during and after ethnic conflict. You have been patiently and sympathetically listening to our grievances. Now you have come forward with the resolution recognizing the atrocities that have been taking place in Sri Lanka and demanding justice and a peaceful solution. Thank you for your initiatives. We in Sri Lanka have been going through post-war situation, which is no better than the situation during war. It is denial of freedom for Tamils. Most of the traditional lands taken over by the military are never returned. New lands taken over for Sri Lankan Sinhala settlements. New Buddhist temples erected where there are no Buddhists. In 1948, Sri Lanka received independence, but we have been losing our land, freedom for religious practices, our rights, and our self-determination. Elections, especially local government and provincial council elections, are postponed. We need justice. There are people who lost their loved ones, who went missing, who surrendered to the military but never returned. People are still grieving. We have the right for freedom and for self-determination. Referendum seems best option for a permanent political solution. At this juncture, especially in the East, hundreds of acres of lands are demanded by Buddhist monks for temples and Sinhala settlements. At this juncture, United States has a moral obligation to bring justice to the affected and give pressure to the government of Sri Lanka to work for sincere political solution. I thank everyone, especially Tamil Americans United and US TAG, for organizing this particular Zoom meeting, and especially for inviting me to be a panelist. Thank you and God bless you. Vanakkam.
Thank you, Bishop Emmanuel, for explaining the various losses and rights and the diminishing democracy for people on the island. Anandaraj Ponnambalam, the president of US TAG, has been an activist for Tamil rights since his school days. He often recalls the best 5 years of his work life as the 5 years that he taught at the Vanni Institute of Technology, a startup initiative formed by Tamil Americans during the ceasefire time in Tamil Eelam. Thereafter, he has engaged in human rights work for our people to date. He has not joined yet, so we will be moving on to the next speaker. Or I think we may have a video for him that we can share. So we can share that right now.
As we pay homage on this sacred day to the everlasting memory of our fallen Mahavirar and those of our beloved brothers and sisters who sacrificed their precious lives in the cause of freedom for our people. We can say without any hesitation whatsoever that their sacrifice has not been in vain. Almost 500,000 of our brothers and sisters, fully committed to the universal right of self-determination and the thirst for the Tamil Elam motherland, placed their complete trust in our Mahavirar and made their tortuous journey towards freedom and emancipation in the Vanni. They toiled and reveled in nation building from 1995 till 2009, only to be cut down and decimated by the Mullawakkal genocide. As many as 150,000 of them perished or are missing to this day, while 300 to 350,000 were incarcerated in concentration camps and thereafter to a life of subjugation under the military occupation with the rest of our people. Driven and motivated purely by that sacrifice for the cause of freedom, those of our people left behind and surviving in the Tamil homeland, their representatives and the Tamil diaspora have fought as kindred spirits for recognition of the Tamil genocide by the international community, accountability for the genocide, and also like the phoenix rising from the ashes, charting a new course for freedom in Tamil Elam. The progress towards that goal is indisputable. For the first time in 14 years following Mullawakkal, the Canadian Parliament has declared the massacre as a genocide and made the week of May 18th Tamil Genocide Education Week in that country. The UN Human Rights Council, UNHRC, has passed resolutions on Sri Lanka for accountability for war crimes and crimes against humanity. The US and Canada have sanctioned key architects and perpetrators of the Tamil genocide, namely the 2 military chiefs and the past 2 presidents of Sri Lanka, among others. The European Union and other countries have withheld trade incentives from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has had to declare bankruptcy due to, in no small measure, to its colossal spending for the prosecution of the genocidal war and subsequent military occupation of the Tamil homeland. All of the above had laid the groundwork for us, namely those of us in the Tamil homeland, their representatives, and the Tamil diaspora, to unitedly redouble our efforts to call for the international community to 1. Conduct and monitor a referendum for the universal right of self-determination among our people. 2. Refer Sri Lanka to the International Criminal Court for justice for the victims of the Tamil genocide. 3. Establish a monitoring mission on the ground in the northeast to prevent the destruction of Hindu temples, the desecration of the ancient Tamil heritage, and prevent the continued expropriation of the lands of the local population. And finally, remove the military occupation of the Northeast. Achieving the above will lead us to a permanent political solution to the Tamil national question and enable us to fulfill the ultimate objective of our Mahavirar, namely the transformation of the temporary de facto Tamil Elam they established in the Vanni into a permanent de jure Tamil Elam in the Tamil homeland. The thirst of Tamils is the Tamil Elam motherland.
Thank you, Anandaraj, for sharing this video. And I noticed you were just able to join. Would you like to make any additional remarks?
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I could not give a live talk. I was taken up by the commemoration in New York City, where Gordon Weiss, who was one of our people who in the UN who actually was right there in the middle of everything. And he's giving an amazing talk at the moment. And I was staying there for the last as much as possible. I'm sorry I couldn't come in person, but thank you for being able to share my thoughts with the distinguished panel that you have.
Thank you, Anandaraj. The Student Union of Jaffna University has been a champion of Tamils' rights in the last several decades. Most recently, while the Sri Lankan state was celebrating its 75th anniversary of its independence, the students organized a massive march in protest across the Tamil homeland, from the north to the east, with a call for referendum to find a permanent political solution, rejecting the 13th Amendment as a solution and calling for the withdrawal of the Sri Lankan military from the Tamil homeland. Since he couldn't be here with us today, we have a video from the president of the Student Union of Jaffna University, Vijaya Kumar.
வணக்கம், நான் அழகராசா விஜயகுமார், யாழ்ப்பாண பல்கலைக்கழக மாணவொன்றிய தலைவர். அமெரிக்க நாட்டிலே புலம்பெயர்ந்து காணப்படுகின்ற தமிழர்களால் நடத்தப்படும் இந்த இன்றைய தின நினைவேந்தலில் கலந்து கொண்டமைக்கு மிக மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகின்றேன். அந்த வகையிலே இன்றைய தினம் நம்முடைய தமிழ் இனத்துக்கு ஒரு துக்க தினமான நாளாகும். நம்முடைய இனம் இனப்படுகொலை செய்யப்பட்ட நாளாகும். அந்த வகையிலே தொடர்ச்சியாக 2009ஆம் ஆண்டில் மட்டும் இனப்படுகொலை செய்யப்படவில்லை எங்களுடைய மக்கள். தொடர்ச்சியாக திட்டமிட்டப்பட்ட ரீதியிலே எங்களுடைய இனம் தொடர்ச்சியாக ஆக்கிரமிப்பு உள்ளாகி கொண்டிருக்கின்றது. அந்த வகையிலே இராணுவ ஆக்கிரமிப்பு, பௌத்தமயமாக்க பிரச்சனை, காணி அபகரிப்பு பிரச்சனை மற்றும் ஒரு இனமானது தங்களுடைய சுயநிர்ணயத்தை கொண்டு தமக்கான பண்பாட்டை, இடத்தை அடையாளப்படுத்த விட முடியாமல் இருக்கின்ற அவலநிலை இலங்கையிலே வடகிழக்கில் தமிழர் பிரதேசத்தில் காணப்படுகின்றது. அப்படிப்பட்ட அடக்குமுறையானது எங்களை விட்டு நீங்க வேண்டும். அதற்கு சர்வதேசம் ஒரு நீதி கூற வேண்டும். அந்த வகையிலே எங்களுக்கான தீர்வு சர்வதேச ரீதியிலே பொது வாக்கெடுப்பு எடுக்கப்பட்டு எங்களுடைய மக்களின் விருப்புக்கேற்றவாறு தேசியம், சுயநிர்ணயம், மரபுவழி தாயகம் என்ற ரீதியிலே எங்களுக்கு ஒரு தீர்வு கிடைக்கப்பெற வேண்டும். அந்த வகையில் நாங்கள் தொடர்ச்சியாக ஆக்கிரமிப்புக்கு உள்ளாகி கொண்டிருக்கின்றோம். இன்று கூட உருத்திரபுரத்திலே உருத்திரேஸ்வரர் ஆலயத்தில் தொல்லியல் திணைக்களம் அளவிட்டு கொண்டிருக்கின்றது. ஆனால் அங்கு போராட்டங்கள் தமிழர்களால் செய்யப்பட்டு கொண்டிருக்கின்றது. அதனையும் மீறி அதை அளக்கப்பட்டு பௌத்தமயமாக்கப்படுமோ என்ற சந்தேகமும் எங்களிடம் இன்று எழுந்துள்ளது. மேலும் தொடர்ச்சியாக குருந்தூர் மலையாக இருக்கலாம், வெடுக்குநாரியாக இருக்கலாம், தையிட்டியாக இருக்கலாம், அரிசிமலை போன்ற பல்வேறுபட்ட இடங்கள், நெடுந்தீவு போன்ற இடங்களில் தங்களுடைய பௌத்தமயமாக்கத்தை இந்த சிங்கள பேரினவாத அரசு விதைத்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றது. இந்த பௌத்தமயமாக்கல் எதற்கு? எங்களுடைய தமிழர் தாயத்திலே பௌத்தர்கள் இல்லை. அந்த ரீதியிலும் நீங்கள் பௌத்தத்தை கொண்டு வந்து எதற்காக இங்கு திணிக்கிறீர்கள் என்பது எங்களுக்குரிய கேள்வியாக இருக்கின்றது. எங்களை தொடர்ச்சியாக அடக்காதீர்கள். ஏனென்றால் எங்களை நீங்கள் இனப்படுகொலை செய்தீர்கள். கிட்டத்தட்ட 1.5 லட்சம் பேரை கொண்டீர்கள். 2009 5ஆம் மாதம் 18 எவ்வளவு கஷ்டத்தில் கொத்து கொத்தாக குண்டுகளிலும் பசியிலும் உயிர் மாண்டிருக்கிறார்கள். அந்த வகையிலே நாங்கள் இந்த முள்ளிவாய்க்கால் வாரத்தையும் வடகிழக்கு ரீதியாக செய்திருந்தோம். அதற்கு கூட எங்களுக்கு பல்வேறுபட்ட தடைகள், புலனாய்வாளர்கள் தடை, பல்வேறுபட்ட தடைகள் காணப்படுகின்றது. சர்வதேசம் ஒன்றை மட்டும் புரிந்து கொள்ள வேண்டும், எங்களுக்கான தீர்வு எங்களுக்கு வேண்டும். ஏனென்றால் நாங்கள் ஒரு இனம் சுயநிர்ணயமாக வாழ வேண்டும் என்பது எங்களுடைய கனவு. எங்களுக்கு அந்த உரிமை இருக்கின்றது. அந்த வகையிலே சர்வதேசம் இதில் தலையிட்டு எங்களுக்கு பொதுஜன வாக்கெடுப்பு எடுக்கப்பட வேண்டும் வடகிழக்கிலே. அது ஒன்றே எங்களுக்கான தீர்வாக இங்கு காணப்படும் என்பதை நாங்கள் மாணவர்களாகவும் பொதுமக்களாகவும் கேட்டுக்கொள்கின்றோம்.
And next we will have Ilango to provide a translation. Ilango, I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry. So here's a quick summary. Greetings to Tamil Americans and Tamils around the world from the students of University of Jaffna. We thank the organizers of this Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day for inviting us. Today is a sad day for the Tamils. The day Tamils faced a genocide in Mullawaikal in May of 2009. The genocidal process has not stopped since 2009. It still continues to this day through carefully planned military occupation of Tamil homeland and land grab. We as Tamils in our homeland, as a people, are not able to safeguard our culture, language, and land. The international community should help us get justice and a solution for the oppression we face. Today, the Sri Lankan government, through its archaeological department, is destroying many Tamil cultural sites in the Tamil homeland from Kurundur Malai, Vadikanari to Thaiyatti, and even Nadandivu, and building Buddhist viharas symbolizing the supremacy of the Sinhala race. We do not know why the Sri Lankan government is building these viharas when there are no Buddhists or Sinhalese in these places. We faced hunger and genocidal massacre of around 150,000 Tamils in Mullawaikal in May 18, 2009. We still continue to face military oppression even to organize these events commemorating the Mullawaikal genocide throughout this week. We kindly request the international community that the only way to stop all these oppressive conditions of the Sri Lankan government is for them to conduct an independence referendum in the Tamil homeland. Since we as Tamils are a nation which has the right to self-determination. This is our kind request as students and Tamil people from our homeland. Thank you, Nandri.
Thank you, Ilango, for the translation. Pushparani Poovarasi Williams is the Director of Global Affairs at the U.S. Tamil Action Group. She has been an activist for Tamil rights since her teen years in Sri Lanka and an activist in the U.S. for about 40 years for human rights, welfare, justice, and accountability for Tamil people. Her remarks will be on Mullawaikal Kanji, a primary food source during the Tamil genocide in 2009. Pushparani, the floor is yours.
Vanakkam. Mullawaikal Kanji. It is a symbol of our people's suffering, like Congressman Ross said, horrific tragedy. We all know that they were trapped in a small strip of land, so-called no-fire zone. And the government was using food as a weapon of war. And they were undergoing enormous suffering and starvation. In Mullawaikal, there was hardly anything available. Money was of no use. There was some rice that they had, and with they had salt, they used it. They did not just rice and water. Sometimes we have heard they used seawater and to keep them alive. The Mullawaikal Kanji gave them the hope. As we know around the world, we have known the Jewish people for more than 2,000 years. Every year they remember their slavery, the bondage, through the Passover, the Seder meal. And the Armenians, they use the Mada as their food of hope during the genocide. And it is we, the Tamils, it's our duty to pass this Mullawaikal Kanji as the food of hope for our next generations, to pass on, to remember the suffering of the people and the people who are longing for freedom, justice, and accountability. At this time, we always remember Bishop Rayapu's number when he testified at the LLRC Commission. 146,679 people are unaccounted for. So we remember all those with this Mullivaikal Kanji. On May 18th, we the Tamils world over should make this simple rice porridge, rice with water, and drink it in remembrance of all those people who are suffering, remember the suffering, and also pass it on to the next generations. We have to continue until our people get their freedom, justice, and accountability. Thank you. Nandri, vanakkam.
Thank you, Pushparani, for sharing the meaningfulness of Mullivaikal Kanji. Our next speaker, Ernest Rajakone, is Pearl's U.S. Advocacy Director. He is a student at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law and previously served as the president of the Young Democrats of Allegheny County. He was also a commissioner on Governor Tom Wolf's Advisory Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs and was a policy staffer for Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto. In 2021, he was honored as a member of Pittsburgh Magazine's 40 Under 40. Ernest, take it away.
Thank you, Amaran. Good evening. I'm honored to be with you today on Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day, a difficult day for our people as we mark the anniversary of the Mullivaikal massacre and remember the victims and the survivors. Today, we come together across the globe to grieve as a people. We mourn the lives that were taken from us. The Sri Lankan government has been credibly accused of committing war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide during the armed conflict, with up to 169,796 Tamils remaining unaccounted for and presumed dead in just the final 5 months of the war, also known as the Mullivaikal genocide. At the height of the genocide, the international community failed to protect the Tamil people. And since, the international community has failed to meaningfully hold the Sri Lankan government accountable to its international commitments, which has enabled a culture of impunity as successive governments delay and ultimately deny justice processes. This lack of accountability allowed the impunity and brutality of the Sri Lankan state to flourish, in no small part resulting in the economic and political crises that continue to devastate the island today. For a peaceful and sustainable future for all on the island, it is critical that the United States and the international community lead with a commitment to justice and accountability. I commend the members of Congress who led the resolution today, which called for the United States to leverage its position on the UN Security Council to pursue a referral of Sri Lanka to the International Criminal Court. The international community must reject Sri Lanka's domestic window dressing mechanisms in favor of an international accountability mechanism, and in addition to that, they must hold Sri Lanka responsible for breaching its treaty obligations on torture and enforced disappearances, including at the International Court of Justice. The United States must actively apply extraterritorial and universal jurisdiction principles to investigate and prosecute alleged Sri Lankan perpetrators of international crimes. In particular, individuals like former Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who oversaw the final stages of the conflict as Secretary of Defense and committed many of these crimes as a U.S. national. The United States must also consider use of all bilateral levels at its disposal to advance justice and accountability in Sri Lanka, including targeted sanctions, human rights conditionalities on trade and debt restructuring, immediate suspension of military partnerships, and emphasis on the right to self-determination for the Tamil people in the Northeast. And the United States must formally recognize the Tamil genocide. Today, even as we mourn, I'm inspired by the courage of the mothers of the disappeared and the resilience of the Tamil people. And in this collective time of grief, may we renew our commitment to justice, self-determination, and a free and peaceful future for the Tamil people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest, for speaking on the steps countries such as the United States can take to protect human rights in Sri Lanka. We will be playing the Sri Lanka's Killing Field documentary, a clip from that, to refresh everyone's memory on how horrifying the final stages of the war were. As we wrap up this event, many thanks to all of you for joining us today from different time zones for the Tamil Genocide Remembrance Day gathering. A special thanks to all the speakers from the US and Tamil Eelam Thank you all. Thank you to all who made this event possible by working tirelessly behind the scenes. To conclude this event, we would like to play a short clip from Sri Lanka's killing field.
The following program contains disturbing visuals and is not suitable for general viewing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. This documentary, produced by Outsider Films and directed by Colum McRae of UK, is being premiered on Headlines today, keeping in mind the highest traditions of the journalistic profession, the need to know the truth and the need to tell it.
This man is a senior Tiger commander, Colonel Ramesh. He has been taken prisoner and is being interrogated by government soldiers.
Don't lie.
No, sir. I understood, sir. I understood. Yes.
But his captors don't just take trophy videos on their phones. They also take high-resolution photographs.
So the initial photographs, he's inside a military vehicle, and then we next see him dead with a gunshot wound to the head. Here, a bleeding entry wound to his temple, and then in some later photographs, a large gaping exit wound to the left side of the face. And if we look at the wider shots, we can see that he's been dragged outdoors. His clothing is ripped up at the back. And then after that, an improvised funeral pyre built around him, and the body is then burnt just outside the buildings in which he was shot, thereby destroying evidence of what had happened.
Among the most sinister and distressing of the images are those of women fighters who appear to have been systematically sexually assaulted before they were executed. Images filmed by government soldiers as war trophies. The use of sexual violence as an act of war is one of the most serious war crimes. Anyone guilty, or any officer who condones such violence, is liable to prosecution under the international laws of war. Among the bodies, this woman. It is Isai Priya, the Tiger singer and newsreader.
If you take the examples of what looked like a mass execution of prisoners, these all add up possibly to the claim that this was in fact systematic, and that could point to the highest levels in the military authority of Sri Lanka as being responsible for war crimes of summary execution, killing, and torture.
the ICU. But we don't have any ICU facilities, cardiac monitor. We don't have any laboratory facilities. We can check the blood. We don't have any antibiotic and drugs also. We several times inform our government, but government not willing to send any medicine here.
U.S. Embassy Colombo to Sextate, D.C. Sitrep 46. UN figures indicate that 78% of civilian deaths from January 20 to March 31 occurred in the safe zone.
This is our admission board without any facilities.
The deliberate denial of medicine and humanitarian aid to civilians is a violation of the Geneva Conventions.
There's more and more dead bodies everywhere and people just running away from the shells.
Fanny volunteers to help in the last remaining hospital in an abandoned school.
It was very shocking to see this area with a lot of blood everywhere and dead bodies around, no equipment, proper equipment. We have to reuse the blood that came out of the wounded area and just filtering using a white piece of cloth and then re-enter it into the patient.
The hospital administrator responsible for medical supplies is despairing.
Blood bag, antibiotic என சொல்லப்படும் நோய் எதிர்ப்பு மருந்து பற்றாக்குறைதான் ஒரு காரணமாகவும் நம்மிடம் இல்லை. இந்த வகையிலே இறப்பு சர்வ சாதாரணமாக நிகழ்வதாக காணக்கூடியதாக இருக்கின்றது.
The hospital suffers a direct hit.
இந்த வைத்தியசாலை தற்போது 750 மேற்பட்ட காயமடைந்தவர்கள் இருந்து கொண்டிருக்கும் பொழுது இங்கு இடவசதி இல்லாதபடியும் காயமடைந்தவர்கள் எல்லாமே அருகிலேயே படுத்திருந்தார்கள். அந்த நிலைமை நேரடியாக விடுதி இந்த செல்வது இந்த இழப்பு.
Among the dead, the hospital administrator. On the 21st of January, the government announces the creation of what they call a no-fire zone. In the hope of finding safety, scores of thousands of civilians follow the government's instructions and head to this zone. Among them are 2 international UN staff workers.
When we arrived in the no-fire zone, I mean, it literally was a sea of people. Tens of thousands of tents and tarpaulins, families sheltered under them, bits of tin leaning together with sticks holding them up.
They set up a UN hub, speak to the LTTE police, and notify both the UN headquarters and the government forces of their GPS coordinates.
We communicated those coordinates to the Sri Lankan forces, that this is the area that the UN had set up their operations in, and that could they please refrain from targeting this particular area. 3 or 4 hours later in the evening, we sustained a barrage of mortar attack coming from the south across the forward defensive line into the no-fire zone and into the food distribution centre. After the first few shells had landed, I went outside the bunkers in order to try to establish a communications link with the satellite in order to call Colombo to request that the Sri Lankan military redirect its fire away from us, because these ordnance were landing precariously close to our position, you know, within 5 to 10 metres of where we were camped. As I was outside trying to make the communication, I was kind of crouched between some of the 44-gallon drums and sandbags, and the body of a young woman landed on top of me. Some of the shells came in. The explosive force had thrown her and landed kind of on. She'd been decapitated, and most of her torso and her legs had been torn apart by obviously a fair amount of shrapnel that had gone through her when the shells struck. It was dark, it was frightening. There was shells incoming all over the place, and there was a lot of screaming and a lot of chaos. I kind of pushed the body off me and continued to try to establish the link, and I kind of had a sense that I was just waiting to die, that my luck was going to run out soon. When I went outside in the morning at about 6 o'clock, the scene was devastating. I mean, it was very, very distressing what was lying all around the field. With my limited knowledge of humanitarian law, I realised that in fact what I was witnessing was very, very serious potential war crimes that were being conducted. I started to take photographs. I had my staff take photographs. We also started to GPS things, and we noted the direction of fire for many of the incidents that occurred and the type of weapons that were used. And I would say to anyone that says to me, how do you know in the direction of fire? If you stand on the side of a freeway and a car goes past you, even if you've got your eyes closed, you know which direction the car's coming from. It's the same with weapons. You can always tell. There's a crucial point to be made about why the Sri Lankan government declared the no-fire zone within the effective range of all of the weaponry being used by the Sri Lankan military to fire in that direction. There is only one intent, and that is because you don't really care whether or not you're going to kill the people that are located in that safe zone. Or, more importantly, you're actively targeting them.
Do you believe that's what was happening?
Yes. Yes.
So this is an execution scene with 5 men dead and a young boy. And this is the same pattern that we see in the other footage.
The boy is Balashandran Prabhakaran, the 12-year-old son of the Tamil Tiger leader Velupillai Prabhakaran. The murdered men are believed to be his bodyguards.
So he has 5 gunshot wounds. This was likely the first shot fired. It looks dirty because there's soot around it, and there's a speckling from propellant tattooing indicating that the distance of the muzzle of the weapon to this boy's chest was 2 to 3 feet or less. So he could have reached out with his hand and touched the gun that killed him. So this is a homicide, this is a murder, there's no doubt about it.
Since that interview, we've obtained these chilling photographs. They show Balachandran alive and apparently guarded by a government soldier. Encoded metadata suggests these photographs were taken 2 hours earlier than the ones which show him dead. It seems this young child was held prisoner by government troops and even offered a snack before he was taken and executed in cold blood.
This is a war crime. This is a crime. So what one would expect, of course, is that it would be thoroughly investigated.
Slowly, everybody was just walking towards the bridge. And this old lady was asking the Sri Lankan officer there for water, and then he just laughed at her and pointed to the dirty water that's going underneath the bridge and said, go and drink that. For past 3-4 days, we didn't have anything to eat or drink. All I can see is just dead bodies just in with the water, just sort of floating on top of the water, and just have to, with the hand, just put everything aside and just drink the water.
Girls suspected of being Tamil tigers are loaded onto trailers to be taken away. They are photographed by government soldiers. These 20 seconds of footage are all we have. We have no idea what happened to them.
When I went for the first time in Bani, all very green. It's just beautiful place, beautiful land. And now I'm just looking around. This is just like dead bodies everywhere, burnings, shell bombs, and it just looked very dead and dark everywhere.
Song Parukulle Nalla Nadu.
Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today, and we will be concluding the event now.